Hi there, my name's Caitlin Bandy, and this is my channel, BandysBooks, and today we are here to go on a bit of a rant. We're talking about things that annoy me, things that get on my nerves, things that publishers do, authors do, people in the book community do. We're gonna just get it all off our chest. This is the I'm So Annoyed book tag. The original video that inspired this tag was made by Melinda at A Web of Stories, and then Books I'm Not Reading took it and turned it into a tag. And I'm so grateful because honestly, we all really need to get things off our chest once in a while, and this is the perfect video for that. So that said, let's go ahead and jump straight into it with question number 1. Do publishers ever do things that you find annoying? Yes, all the time. There are a lot of things that publishers do that annoy me. Like everyone else, I find the stickers that people put on the front of the books, like that one, to be kind of annoying. Why do we need to mess up the cover with a whole bunch of seals and stickers? I think that it would be better if they maybe created a page after the title page where you could put all those seals for awards and stuff like that. That would be cool because then it wouldn't mar the front cover, but they could still put it in there for acknowledgement. But more annoying than that for me is the way that publishers treat popular topics. I have noticed recently that when there's something that works really well and sells a lot of copies, publishers then make this a formula and create cookie cutter books that replicate that specific book over and over and over again. Some recent examples off the top of my head are love triangles. So in The Hunger Games, we saw a love triangle between Katniss, Peeta, and Gale, and that book was wildly popular and did really well. So then all of a sudden, everybody that wrote fantasy, young adult, romance, whatever, had to have a love triangle in their book. Also, in the wake of The Hunger Games was a huge wave of dystopian YA fics that basically replicated what The Hunger Games was doing, but not as successfully. A more recent example would be the ACOTAR series. A Court of Thorns and Roses is a mix of fantasy and romance with a sprinkling of smut, and it set the world on fire. Now, this isn't my typical genre, but I think you would have to be completely out of touch with the book industry to not see how many people are posting about this book, how many people love it, and it's just one of the most popular things out there right now. And that has inspired a massive wave of copycat books. Every time I blink, there is a new romantasy fiction popping off. And while I'm sure one or two of them are really good, I think a lot of them are just cookie cutter replicas of what the original book tried to do. It's one of those things where I wish that instead of just repeating the same thing over and over and over again until it is dead, publishers would instead focus on original content and really well-written books, things that are creative and unique. But I also understand from the business aspect that they're looking at selling as many books as possible, so they're going to beat the dead horse until they can't anymore. Question number 2, have you ever been annoyed by a spoiler, even something as simple as being told that there is a great twist coming in the book? So I am annoyed by spoilers. I don't think I would be annoyed to know that there was a twist coming. For example, if you're reading thrillers, you kind of expect that things are going to get a little bit twisty along the way. But I do find it super annoying when people blurt out really consequential spoilers without any warning. I do agree with some of the other people who have done this video that mention that it isn't about where the book is going, but how it gets there. And that even if you know how the book is going to end, a good author will still make the book engaging. And I agree with that to some degree. However, I do think that spoiling the ending of books, even if the book is super well written, kind of takes away some of the joy of reading the book and finding out as you go along. I agree that you can still read a book that's been spoiled and still really enjoy it. I just think that it might temper your enjoyment a little bit. I think it's kind of cool to discover things as the characters discover them, and so I don't love spoilers. That's why whenever I talk about spoilers on my channel, at least anything that's significant, I always try to make sure I put a spoiler warning first. Question number 3, have you ever been annoyed by what you found in a little free library, a book sale, or a used bookstore? Yes. All the time. So my channel is big on little free libraries. I have done several big road trips around the Southwest, visiting little free libraries all along the highway in a bunch of different cities. My mom and I always visit multitudes of little free libraries when I come home to San Diego. So I would consider myself something of an expert on what you find in little free libraries in at least the Southwest of the US. And a lot of times it's really annoying. So obviously you find lots of great things. There's usually good books, and sometimes people will put bookmarks, stickers, things for kids, stuff like that. But one of the things that I find really annoying is oftentimes I will find that people use little free libraries like a dumpster for books that really should be tossed at this point. If your book is literally being held together by a single piece of duct tape, it does not belong in a little free library. That's fine if you want to keep it, if you still use it and get joy out of it. Nobody's judging you for your taped together books, but that's not the kind of thing that you share with the community. I kind of think of it like this. When I donate a book to a little free library, I want to put a book in there that's maybe used but still in good condition because I want people to look at it and be excited about reading it, not see something that's being barely held together and be like, oh, what is this? Another thing that I find really annoying is when people sneak really hateful books into little free libraries. I've seen this not super often, but often enough, where you go to a little free library and they've put something really politically extreme. You know that the little free library host didn't put that shit in there. It's some person in the community that feels like everybody has to be like them and believe their hateful bigotry, and so they put some shitty book in there. A recent example of this is I was in Arizona and I stopped in a little town and was visiting a local little free library. It's one that I visit fairly frequently and I always bring contemporary books to. And this time there was a book in there that looked to be a memoir. So I pick it up, I read it, and it's all about gay conversion therapy and why it's a sin to be gay, and how if you just accept that, you know, it's a sin and, you know, you go through conversion therapy, you could just not be gay. And I was so angry because this is, first of all, so factually incorrect. But second of all, it's potentially extraordinarily damaging. You're in a small town. Somebody that might be LGBTQIA in that town is already probably going to feel super uncomfortable, maybe not have a lot of resources about coming out or their sexuality. And then they're possibly going to be exposed to this book that's extremely hateful and makes them feel like they're doing something wrong just by existing. So with that being said, keep your prejudice bullshit out of little free libraries. Question 4, when it comes to short story collections, are you annoyed if there is a random novella in the middle of it? I am not. I've watched so many of these videos and almost everybody is like, oh, I don't really read a lot of short story collections. Well, that's not the case here. I read a lot of short story collections. And for me, it doesn't matter if they're all short stories and there's one novella, or if they're all like little vignettes. I like them all. There's actually one short story collection specifically that I'm thinking of that has a novella in it, and that's the Office of Historical Corrections. I believe the author's name is Danielle Evans, and that has one longer like novella format story and then a bunch of short stories. And I thought that that worked really well. The story that was told in the novella format definitely needed much more page space for it. And so I thought it fit just fine. Question 5, deckled edges, beautiful or annoying? So I think that deckled edges look nice on books. I'm not like crazy for them. I don't go out of my way to find deckled edges, but I'm certainly not annoyed by them either. I just kind of feel ambivalent about them. Question 6, other people's annotations in a used book or a library book. Are you okay with it? I guess it depends on the scenario. I do not think that you should annotate or write in library books. You are borrowing a book from somebody. That is not your book. If you want to write and highlight and tab your own books, that's your business. But when you borrow things from people, you return them in the condition that you borrowed them in. And so I do find it really annoying when library books are annotated. As for used books, I have personally no problem with annotations in used books, but I do think it should be disclosed. One of the things that I've noticed on like Pango Books, for example, is that there are people that annotate their books and then they resell the books, but they always list in there like, hey, this is annotated or highlighted, there's sticky tabs, whatever. So one time, for example, I picked up a copy of a book that I wanted and the person that was selling it disclosed that her personal annotations were in it. So I had that expectation when I purchased it. However, if I went to a store and I purchased a used book, and then I got home and it was all marked up and written in and tabbed and everything, I would be pretty annoyed. And honestly, I might consider returning it to the store I picked it up from because I wasn't looking for an annotated tabbed book. As for whether I annotate and tab my own books, I do not. I like my books that I'm keeping to be in excellent condition. And when I pass books forward to little free libraries and other places, I don't want it to be full of markings and stuff. I want it to be like a nice, enjoyable book for other people as well. The only exception to that is when I was first learning Spanish, I would annotate books and I still own all of those books. And you can see like my markings where I highlighted words that I didn't understand. I wrote notes in like the margins, you know, helping me to put contextual clues together, things like that. But that's like the small exception for me. Question number 7, if there is a series or collection of books like an imprint and changes are made to it in the middle of it, are you annoyed or okay with it? If yes, give an example. Yes, I find this annoying. So first of all, I feel like a lot of other people have already covered the changes in imprints and I find those annoying. But even more than that, I find it super annoying when you have a book series and you know people are buying the whole series of books. Like, you know, there's a trilogy or there's 5 books or 7 books or whatever. And then somewhere in the middle of that series, they decide, oh, let's just completely change everything. I have multiple examples. So first up, I have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is the original cover of the first book. This is the second book. These would be fine, I guess, together, maybe, except every book that follows looks like this. And then they made a version of this book that fits with this one. So I'm like, why did you make the first one look like this if you were gonna make all the rest of them look like this? It's so frustrating. And then, you know, they don't match. I mean, the size is the same, but the colors are different. It's just why? Why? What was the purpose? Another example, I've been trying to collect the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. Look at these, completely different style. Not the same size. One's shiny, one's not. I just don't get it. Like, why? Why do you need to do this? Now they don't look good on the shelf next to each other. And the thing that's even more frustrating is like the next book that I was trying to find in this series is another big one. So why go big, small, big? Like, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Ooh, and the most recent version of this, I was like, it made my blood boil because I had already bought 3 books in the series and it's like set to be a 5 to 7 book series, and all of a sudden they just changed all the covers. And that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. Great series, really have been enjoying reading it. And I actually really like the covers that are on the original version of it. And then all of a sudden, Samantha Shannon decided that she wanted to rewrite and re-edit the first 3 books in the series. So not only has the book itself been changed, and she said it's not substantial enough that you need to like go back and reread everything, but that there's some stuff that got added and a few things that got taken out. So like, not only are the covers completely changing mid-series, but the book is being re-edited and stuff is being added. And now I'm stuck with 3 books from the series that look nothing like the next books coming up. It's super frustrating. And I feel like if publishers are going to do that, then they should have a program where you send the old copies of the books that you paid your hard-earned money for back to them, and then they send you the new updated copy, because who has $60 to spend, you know, $30 for the original one and then $30 for the one that you have to pay to update? Question number 8, do the decisions of characters in books ever annoy you? Yes, there have been times where I have found a character in a book annoying, or the decisions that they've made super annoying. I don't have a specific example off the top of my head right now, but I can say that that happens to me the most when I read romance and when I read thrillers, neither of which I do very much, but I often find like in romances, especially when there's like miscommunication tropes, that the character is so frustrating because you're like, all you have to do is ask this person like 2 clarifying questions and we've literally wiped out the entire plot of the story. Same thing in thrillers. I feel like there's a lot of times where the characters like purposefully ignore evidence to keep the twists going, you know? Question number 9, are you ever annoyed by how someone organizes their books? What do you find annoying? I personally do not care how anyone wants to organize their books within their home. If you want to have all your books wrapped in butcher paper so that they look very stark and aesthetic, if you want to turn them forward so you can see the sprayed edges, you want to have them organized in a rainbow, you want to go alphabetical order, you want to go by height, I don't care. It's your house, it's your business. All I really care about is that when you look at your bookshelves, you feel joy. If it makes you happy to see a rainbow along your bookshelf, do it. If you like everything nice and even in height, do it. If you like your books facing the opposite direction so you can see the beautiful custom sprayed edges, do it. Whatever serves you, whatever makes you happy, I'm happy for you to do that. In terms of like a library, a used bookstore, or something like that, I think it makes the most sense to organize by genre and then alphabetical by last name, just to make it easy to find what you're looking for, because otherwise, like, how would you know how it's organized? But in your own bookshelf at home, who cares if anyone else thinks it makes sense? As long as you can find the books and it makes you happy, that's all that you should care about. Question number 10, share something bookish that annoys you. All right, so I'm gonna rant a bit on this one. Not that I haven't already in this video, but this one I feel really, really strongly about, and that's bookish gatekeeping, okay? So this looks like to me when someone's like, oh, you only read romance, you're not a real reader. Oh, you only read young adult fiction, you're not a real reader. It's so frustrating. Nobody should be judged for the type of books that they're enjoying. Not everything is everyone's cup of tea. Like, for example, I don't personally read a lot of romance. It's just not a genre that fits with me. However, I would never tell somebody that reads romance that they're not a real reader, or, you know, that they don't deserve to enjoy the hobby that they're enjoying. This world is already such like a negative, crazy place. There's so much disaster and depressing stuff going on. If at the end of the day, to get through your day, what you need is to pick up a fluffy book full of smut and like decompress a little, then more power to you. Do it. I support your hobby. I support your right to enjoy your romance. No judgment. And I think anyone that judges someone for reading something that they like is kind of a jerk. Furthermore, one of the things that I find extra annoying about bookish gatekeeping is that it always seems to have a sexist tone to it. Why is it that if there's a genre that teenagers and young women enjoy, somehow it doesn't count as literature, somehow it's not real reading? I do get that some genres are like deeper than others. Some books are much deeper than others, but people have the right to read what they want. Not everybody reads to like learn more or to like delve deep into emotional topics. Some people read for escapism, and it's perfectly okay for that to happen. I find it all the more annoying when that bookish gatekeeping directly affects teenagers. Young women in particular already have enough on their plate. They get judged for what they wear, how they look, how they speak, if they work, if they don't work, what choices they make in terms of their education. Like, the list goes on and on. Why do we have to judge them and put pressure on them because of what they're reading to? If you as an adult don't enjoy young adult fiction, that's fine. You're probably not a young adult. It's geared towards somebody that's like 16, 18, somebody that's figuring out life, and like, let them enjoy it. They don't have to have these huge complex themes. It's okay for a teenager to just enjoy a love story or enjoy a fantasy with some fairies. Ultimately, I think that has got to be the single most annoying thing in relationship to books. Gatekeeping any hobby sucks, but I think it's especially shitty when people gatekeep reading. Reading is something that I wish everybody had access to. And honestly, I don't think anyone should be judged for what they're reading. If you don't like a book that someone's reading, mind your business. You don't have to read it. Prompt number 11 is to tag some people. So many people have already done this video that I'm not really sure at the moment who to tag. So I will tag a couple accounts in the description below. And if you're looking to follow a few new people or check out a few new channels, check out the description. I'm sure anyone that I tag is going to be a fantastic account for you. So we've come to the end of the video. I know it was a bit intense and a little bit more ranty than usual. Hopefully that was okay for you. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know what the most annoying thing about books or the bookish community is to you. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.